On the Day of Judgment, everyone will have the realization of ultimate Tawheed, and Tawheed means the belief of oneness in God. There are a lot of Quranic verses that cite to this, but an important question is Allah changing on the Day of Judgment? A God who has power today but lacks it tomorrow isn't God, so for us to proclaim that would be impossible. Allah is all-seeing, all-knowing, all the time. So what is changing? And the answer is our perspective as humans. So in Surah Al-Infitar, it says, "It is a day when no soul will be of any avail to another soul, and all command that day will belong to Allah." Ayah 19. It doesn't mean that the qualities of God are coming that day. It means that they're becoming apparent to us that day. So they've always existed, but to understand this, there's three main concepts. So all materials have two facets to them. One is divine and one isn't. The non-divine aspect has to do with this dunya, and the divine aspect has to do with Allah. So the non-divine facet of things is what we experience and connect with by our physical senses. The divine facet of all things is their total dependence on the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Their non-divine facet is what they are independently, without Allah being a part of that oneness. For example, when we see an elephant, we're seeing the independent existence, like the trunk and everything, with certain characteristics that set it apart from other beings. So usually we aren't paying attention and are totally oblivious to the fact that even the seemingly independent being is in total dependence on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and its existence and reality, and its reality is mere connective and relational existence. To understand this further, the causality we see between different existences have to do with their non-divine facet, because the place this causality exists is in this dunya. So, for example, a flame will set a cotton ball on fire in this dunya because the flameness and the cotton ballness are non-divine facets in this dunya, and there is a cause and effect relationship between them. One causes an effect in their dunya. So there are verses of the Quran that disclose that all causality that existed between things in this dunya will cease. Surah Al-Baqarah, Ayah 166, and Surah An'am, Ayah 94. So if all causality is lost on the Day of Judgment, that means that the non-divine facet of everything has also been lost, because causality and the non-divine facet of all things are always together and can never be separated from each other. So if the non-divine facet is lost on that day, it didn't really exist to begin with. It's showing that everything was a mirage even in this dunya, although it was covered from us and we thought every being had its own independent existence. The elephant was an independently existing elephant in this dunya, but in the akhirah, it's just a shadow of God's existence while still being an elephant. As a matter of fact, it is non-existent in and of itself, and in reality it exists through the existence of the object it is a shadow of, without which it simply wouldn't exist. So the only real thing about things is their dependent and connective existence to Allah. Just like how if there is any reality to the existence of the shadow, it has to do with the reality of the object it is a shadow of and its connection to their reality and no more. Because for example, if you were to look at your shadow wouldn't exist without you. So our existence is a mere shadow and connective existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So on the Day of Judgment, mankind will gain an ultimate tawheed and realization that anything that other than Allah, everything else barely exists, and the only real thing about things is their dependence on Allah.